In the grand theater of the cosmos, where stars whisper truths older than time and planets trace paths written in the language of fate, there exists a prophecy carved into the soul of Cancer. It is not shouted by thunder nor etched by fire, but it unfolds in the silence between heartbeats and the tides of emotion that rule the inner sanctum of the crab. The prophecy always fulfills itself, slowly, surely, inexorably, and there is no escape. Cancer is born under the dominion of the moon, that ancient watcher who governs not through force, but through feeling. The moon wanes and waxes as does the spirit of Cancer, swelling with dreams and receding into shadows. But behind the softness lies a truth more unyielding than steel. The journey inward is inescapable. The prophecy speaks not of outer wars, but of battles fought behind the eyes, those unseen struggles that mold the tender into the mighty. From the earliest stirrings of life, the Cancerian soul is tasked with bearing the weight of emotion in a world that often refuses to understand it. This is the first movement of the prophecy, the awakening to sensitivity. Where others walk unscathed through chaos, Cancer feels every cut, every vibration in the emotional current. These early wounds carve deep caverns in the psyche, echo chambers that one day will sing with strength. But first, they must fill with tears. Loss comes like a tide. The prophecy demands it, not out of cruelty, but to hollow out a space where wisdom will one day reside. Cancers lose illusions. They lose people. They lose parts of themselves they once thought essential. But every loss is a shedding, a molting of the soul's armor. With each layer that falls away, something sacred is revealed. The prophecy does not promise immunity from sorrow, promises transformation through it. Family, home, roots, these are not mere preferences for Cancer. They are lifeblood. The prophecy guides them into the heart of belonging, only to test the very foundations of what they trust. The home they build may crumble. The people they love may drift away like ships into fog. But Cancer rises from these trials with a new understanding. Home is not always a place or a person, but a state of being. It is a fortress forged within. From these ruins, the true dwelling is constructed, an inner sanctum no storm can touch. Maturity is demanded, not gifted. Cancer learns that love is not always reciprocated, that protection can be a prison, that nurturing can drain instead of nourish. And yet, through these realizations, they evolve. They do not stop feeling. They feel deeper. They do not stop caring. They care smarter. The prophecy teaches them the sacred art of emotional alchemy, turning pain into compassion, memory into wisdom, loyalty into legacy. When the world sees them as soft, the prophecy makes them steadfast. When others mistake kindness for weakness, Cancer is already building a foundation beneath their feet, stone by stone. They become the unshakable center in the lives of others, the sanctuary where truth is safe to speak and tears are sacred. The prophecy turns their vulnerability into vision. Cancers carry ancestral memory. They are old souls with young hearts. Through them, generations speak, heal, continue. The prophecy ensures that they will face patterns that are not theirs alone. Family traumas, emotional inheritances, karmic loops. And they must break them. The work is thankless. It is slow, but it is divine. For when Cancer breaks the cycle, they set countless futures free. They are guardians of the sacred. They walk between the waters of the unconscious and the light of waking life. The prophecy does not let them ignore this. They are pulled again and again into the depths, into memory, into intuition, into dreams that feel more real than the daylight world. But in those depths, they find the pearls. Insight, truth, a quiet knowing that can soothe or destroy, depending on how it is wielded. The prophecy takes them through betrayal, through abandonment, through their own self-doubt. But in each trial, they are handed a key to resilience that does not harden the heart, but strengthens it. A key to love that does not bind, but liberates. A key to power that does not dominate, but heals. At their height, they become protectors not just of people, but of purpose. They carry the emotional weather of the world in their bones, but they walk with grace through the storm. The prophecy says, "You will hurt, you will heal, you will become the place others run to when they forget who they are." There is no escape because the prophecy is not a trap, it is a path. Every tear becomes a testament, every heartache a chapter, every scar a sigil of triumph. Cancer does not run from fate. They become its living embodiment. In silence, they rise. In love, they endure. In shadow, they shine. And in the end, when they look back on all they have become, they do not curse the prophecy. They bless it, because it led them home. There is a silent domain within the soul of Cancer where the stars hold court and destinies are decided long before the first breath is drawn. It is the place of karmic remembering, where time folds in upon itself and past, present, and future converge in sacred echoes. This realm is not seen by the eyes, but it is known in the marrow. Cancer walks with ancient echoes at their heels, whispers from lifetimes past that shape their path whether they realize it or not. The prophecy stretches beyond a single life. It reaches through the veil and ties them to lineages of spirits who once wore the same skin of empathy and shield of feeling. Their growth is not merely personal. It is ancestral. In the stillness between emotional storms, Cancer is called into service by the higher tides. These are not the tides of circumstance, but of sacred purpose. They are summoned to be vessels, containers of divine truth that cannot be taught, only remembered. This is one of their hidden tasks. They are preservers of sacred memory. What the world forgets in its pursuit of power, Cancer guards in its devotion to meaning. Through their emotional intelligence, through their dreams and intuitions, through the stories etched into their hearts, they keep alive the flame of the feminine mysteries, the cycles of life and death, the sacred art of nurturing creation and guiding it through the night. The prophecy often demands solitude, but it is not a curse. It is preparation. Isolation for Cancer is not a void, but a cocoon. It is the crucible in which their inner knowing is tested, where they are stripped of illusions and forced to listen to the voice of their own soul. In that silence, they commune with the moon, and in that communion, they find the blueprint of their divine purpose. The world may call it withdrawal, but in truth, it is initiation. The path of Cancer is lunar and secretive, shaped in shadows and sealed in the stillness where most fear to dwell. Their strength is not forged in conquest but in endurance. While others chase the light, Cancer learns to move through darkness. This journey is not for the faint-hearted. It requires a capacity to feel everything, to let waves crash without losing the core. The prophecy does not shield them from pain. It increases their threshold for it until their soul becomes vast enough to hold the agony of others without drowning in it. This is emotional heroism of the highest order. Another facet of the prophecy lies in the way Cancer shapes and influences without needing a stage or spotlight. They are the architects of atmospheres. A single word, a glance, a gesture from them can restore peace or summon tears. Their energy lingers, like moonlight on still water, altering the mood of those around them. This power is often underestimated because it is not loud or boastful, but its impact is undeniable. Where Cancer goes, the emotional weather follows. They are the emotional compass for many, silently leading others through internal landscapes too vast or terrifying to face alone. Within relationships, the prophecy reveals yet another layer. Cancer often attracts souls who are broken, lost, or unhealed. This is not a coincidence. It is a sacred appointment. The crab becomes the healer, the mirror, the sanctuary for those who carry unspoken wounds. But this too is part of the soul's trial. They must learn the delicate balance between saving others and saving themselves. The prophecy teaches that self-sacrifice is noble only when it does not bleed the soul dry. Cancer's ultimate mastery lies in learning to pour from a full cup, to give without abandoning the self. They are not merely healers of people but of time. They can look into the past and draw meaning from pain. They understand that even suffering has a sacred purpose, and through their reflection, they help others reframe their own tragedies. They stitch the past into a future of purpose. This weaving is subtle magic. The world moves forward through such unseen acts. There is also a fierce warrior buried beneath the softness of Cancer, and the prophecy ensures that one day it will rise. This is the guardian spirit, the protector of the sacred, the defender of innocence. When provoked, Cancer will call upon the full force of their emotional clarity and unleash a power that shocks those who only saw the gentle surface. Their wrath is tidal, ancient, maternal. It is not rooted in vengeance, but in justice. The prophecy ensures they face trials that awaken this primal aspect. They are not just healers. They are warriors of emotional truth. In the fullness of their journey, Cancer becomes a force of restoration. They rebuild what has been broken. They return people to themselves. They anchor others in times of uncertainty, not through logic, but through presence. Their prophecy, though filled with trials, transforms them into the foundation others depend upon. They embody the eternal sanctuary. Time and again, the world will ask Cancer to be less sensitive, less emotional, less attached. But the prophecy insists they be more intuitive, more compassionate, more connected. In a culture obsessed with detachment, Cancer's ability to care is revolutionary. Their empathy is their rebellion, their softness, a sacred shield. The prophecy does not release them from sorrow, but it grants them sovereignty over it. They learn to walk through grief like a high priest walks through a sacred temple, not hurried, not broken, but reverent. Grief becomes a teacher, not a tormentor. They rise from its ashes with gifts no one else could carry. They become wisdom embodied. Even in their silence, they are writing legacies. Even in their solitude, they are shaping destinies. And when their life is looked upon from above, it will be seen as a great work, a symphony of emotion, sacrifice, resilience, and grace. The prophecy never strays. It weaves them into the soul of the world. There is no escape because there is no need to run. The destiny of Cancer is not a cage, but a calling. It is the moonlit path through the forest, the quiet place where healing begins, the timeless echo that reminds the world of what it has forgotten. And in the end, when all is said and done, it is they who will have carried the heart of humanity across lifetimes, unchanged and undiminished. There exists within the Cancer archetype a primordial memory, older than the written zodiac itself, that binds the sign to the sacred art of gestation, not merely of life in the womb, but of ideas, dreams, and the potential of the human soul. This ancient role as cosmic nurturer is not just symbolic, it is alchemical. Cancer holds the power to transform the fragile into the unbreakable, to take the intangible and give it form. The prophecy hidden within this sign is not only about the emotional maturation of the self, but about the sacred duty to midwife the rebirth of others, to guard and cultivate what the world might otherwise discard. The sign of Cancer is ruled by water, but not the storm-driven seas of Scorpio or the universal oceans of Pisces. It is the water that lives in the womb, the tide that turns with the moon, the sacred spring that emerges from the earth after a long drought. This water is memory, emotion, intuition, and soul. To be governed by such a current means that Cancer does not just live life, it absorbs it. Every room they enter leaves an imprint. Every conversation echoes long after it ends. Every goodbye becomes a shrine in their heart. This depth of absorption is not a weakness, but a supernatural gift. It allows Cancer to perceive the world through a deeper lens, one that transcends the physical and reads the energetic and emotional frequencies of all things. There is a mythic silence in Cancer, not born of shyness but of ancient knowing. They understand that not all wisdom must be spoken. Much of their power lies in observation, in listening to what is not said, in feeling the undercurrents that ripple beneath the surface of events. This quiet understanding makes them seem invisible to some, underestimated by many, but that is part of the prophecy's genius. Cancer's influence is often not seen until it is already complete. They work in the liminal spaces, the thresholds between one state and another. They are the keepers of transitions, childhood to adulthood, innocence to experience, fear to courage. They know the price of each transformation because they have paid it themselves over and over again. One of the most sacred and often hidden aspects of the Cancerian path is the reclamation of power through softness. In a world that idolizes aggression and celebrates the hardened heart, Cancer stands as a holy contradiction. Their prophecy calls them to disprove the myth that gentleness cannot be strong, that vulnerability cannot be victorious. They become proof that love is not a surrender, but a revolution. Their tears are not signs of defeat, but offerings to the divine. They walk through emotional hell and emerge radiant, because they have discovered that endurance of the heart is the most ferocious force in existence. The moon, ever changing in the sky, teaches Cancer the sacred rhythm of impermanence. They are not allowed to remain static, for the prophecy insists on evolution. This lunar tutelage is a constant reminder that all things shift, all things cycle. Cancer must learn to release their grip on the past, not to betray it, but to honor the flow of life. This surrender is painful, but it is also the doorway to wisdom. Through this process, Cancer becomes not just a guardian of memory, but a master of emotional timing. They know when to hold on and when to let go, and in that knowing lies their spiritual authority. Though Cancer is associated with the fourth house, the realm of home, roots, and origin, the prophecy insists that their true home can never be confined to walls or geography. It must be cultivated within. Cancer is called to carry their sanctuary with them, to become a walking temple, a living hearth. In doing so, they liberate themselves from dependency and become sovereign. Their roots grow inward, deep into the soil of their own spirit, where no storm can reach and no exile can erase them. This inner foundation allows them to provide safety and stability to others, not from a place of need, but from overflowing abundance. In the realm of dreams and imagination, Cancer is unmatched. Their intuition is not a passive sense, but a prophetic force. They dream of what is to come, sense what is unspoken, and envision possibilities others cannot yet perceive. The prophecy cultivates this gift over time, demanding that they trust their inner knowing even when the world doubts them. As they grow, Cancer learns to move according to the silent guidance of their soul, to act without needing explanation. This alignment with inner truth allows them to create lives of meaning, beauty, and depth that stand as quiet miracles in a chaotic world. Part of their mythic journey involves the reclamation of emotional legacy. Cancer is the sign most intimately connected to the past, and thus the most capable of rewriting it. They inherit not just eye color or last names, but unresolved grief, generational trauma, and familial patterns. The prophecy calls them to be healers of bloodlines, to stand in the breach where cycles repeat and say, "No more." This act of spiritual resistance is nothing short of heroic. It requires them to feel what others avoided, to speak what was silenced, to forgive without forgetting. In doing so, they cleanse not only their own soul, but the souls of those who came before. The Cancerian journey is often misunderstood as being overly domestic or limited to the personal realm, but the prophecy reveals a far grander destiny. They are the heart of the collective. They keep the sacred fire lit during the long night. While the world races toward progress, it is Cancer who ensures we remember why we are moving forward in the first place. They remind us of what matters: connection, care, continuity. Without them, civilizations lose their soul. With them, we remember who we are. The armor of the crab is not simply for defense. It is the symbol of sacred containment. It holds the sacred mystery of gestation, of incubation, of becoming. Cancer teaches that not all things should be exposed too soon, that some dreams need darkness to grow. The prophecy ensures that they will know what to protect and when to protect it. This guardianship is not limited to people. It extends to ideas, values, stories, and futures not yet born. In the twilight between pain and purpose, Cancer becomes sovereign. Their power does not come in a single moment of triumph, but in 1,000 quiet choices to keep going, to keep caring, to keep believing. They are forged in reflection, strengthened in solitude, and crowned in compassion. The prophecy always fulfills itself, not through spectacle, but through sacred unfolding. There is no need for escape because their destiny is not a burden. It is a blessing in disguise, a covenant written in moonlight and sealed in the heartbeat of humanity. And when all the other signs have turned away from the fire of feeling, it is Cancer who remains, tending the embers until dawn. There is a dimension to Cancer's prophecy that lies not in the spoken word or even in the emotions they so deeply feel, but in the invisible realm of energetic transmission. The sign of Cancer holds within it the subtle magic of emotional atmosphere, a power that does not command attention but shifts reality in its presence. Cancer does not need to speak to change the course of a room. Their presence alone recalibrates the emotional field. This is not softness. This is elemental influence in its most refined form. They are not just receivers of energy but silent emitters of peace, healing, and restoration. The prophecy requires this of them. It trains them from a young age to sense, to absorb, to feel, so that one day they may wield these abilities as tools of divine service rather than burdens of isolation. Time itself moves differently for Cancer. Governed by the moon, they operate in a cyclical manner that transcends linear progression. The world may demand speed and forward motion, but Cancer knows, by instinct and by destiny, that the true movements of the soul unfold in rhythms. They understand that not everything blooms on schedule, and that some miracles must be waited for in faith, not forced into being. Their inner calendar is lunar, sacred, and unshakably attuned to divine timing. This means they are often out of step with the world, misunderstood, mislabeled as slow or overly nostalgic, when in truth they are simply aligned with an older, more truthful rhythm. The prophecy teaches them to trust this inner clock, even when all outer indicators push them toward haste or conformity. The sign of Cancer is often symbolized by the shell, a protective exterior surrounding the vulnerable interior. Yet what is rarely spoken of is the sacred intelligence of that shell. It is not armor born of fear, but of spiritual design. The shell is selective. It is conscious. It is the manifestation of discernment. Part of Cancer's journey is learning when to open and when to retreat, not as a mechanism of avoidance, but as a sacred act of self-preservation. They are the keepers of energetic boundaries. They teach the world that retreat is not weakness, but wisdom, that to withdraw is not to give up, but to recharge, realign, and return stronger. The prophecy guides them through the painful lessons of boundary setting until they no longer see it as abandonment of others, but as devotion to self. Another facet often overlooked is the spiritual endurance Cancer must embody. Emotional sensitivity, when not yet refined, can feel like a constant vulnerability. But the prophecy ensures that this very sensitivity becomes a crucible through which immense strength is forged. Cancer becomes emotionally fluent in pain not to remain there, but to transcend it. They are not only survivors of their own suffering, they are emotional architects who reconstruct their inner world with sacred precision. They learn to build inner landscapes that others may one day enter to find healing. This inner world becomes their sanctuary, their cathedral, and eventually their gift to others. There is also a profound link between Cancer and the mystery of incarnation. As the moon guides the passage of souls from spirit into form, Cancer holds within them the memory of the threshold between worlds. They carry echoes of the pre-life realm, and this gives them a strange and often unexplainable melancholy, a longing for something they cannot name. It is not a sadness, but a homesickness for a realm of unity and light. The prophecy integrates this feeling into their character, not to weaken them, but to deepen them. It is this soulful yearning that propels them to create beauty, to nurture others, to recreate, in fragments, the paradise they once knew. Whether through parenthood, art, devotion, or sacred service, Cancer attempts to make the world a home again, not just for themselves, but for all. The courage of Cancer is rarely celebrated, but it is the most persistent of all signs. They return to love after betrayal. They trust again after being broken. They care for others even when they themselves are in pain. This is not a quiet life. This is a hero's journey of the heart. The prophecy refines their emotional resilience not in a single defining moment, but in an ongoing series of quiet choices to keep opening, to keep holding space, to keep showing up with an undefended heart in a world that often forgets the sacredness of that act. Cancer's connection to the archetypal mother extends far beyond biological parenthood. It is a cosmic archetype, an eternal role that encompasses both divine femininity and universal guardianship. They mother not just children, but dreams, movements, communities, even forgotten parts of other people's souls. They provide the emotional soil where others can root themselves. They witness the unseen, hold the hurting, and remain when others retreat. This is not martyrdom. It is sacred leadership. The prophecy does not ask Cancer to disappear for the sake of others, but to stand in the full strength of their empathy and show the world that leadership rooted in care is not only possible, but essential. Within Cancer also lives the paradox of fierce loyalty and the necessity of departure. They are creatures of connection, but the prophecy ensures they face moments when letting go is the only path forward. This contradiction becomes a sacred lesson in soul-level detachment, the ability to love without clinging, to release without resentment. Each farewell in their life chisels them into a more refined version of their spirit. Through these losses, Cancer learns that love is not possession. Love, in its highest form, is freedom. They are also poets of silence. While some express themselves through voice or visibility, Cancer often communicates through presence. A look, a gesture, a shared moment of stillness. These become their language. They do not always need to explain because they transmit truth through being. This gift, too, is part of the prophecy. It teaches that impact does not require volume, that sometimes simply holding space is the most radical act of transformation. In the end, Cancer fulfills a role so essential that few ever recognize its full scope. They do not change the world through revolutions or declarations, but through the quiet consistency of their love. They tend to the wounds no one else sees. They rebuild what has been neglected. They remember what must not be forgotten. The prophecy fulfills itself not with thunder or spectacle, but with moonlight on water, with the softness that endures when all else crumbles. They are the Sacred Heart in a world too often turned cold. And because of them, something ancient and holy continues to live, to pulse, to hope. There is no escape from this destiny, because there is nothing to escape. There is only the soul's remembering, the spirit's unfolding, the prophecy's eternal return. Beyond what has already been woven into the fabric of Cancer's mythos lies a deeper, more secret realm, one that exists beneath the emotional tides and lunar reflections, where the soul of Cancer communes with the very origin of spiritual memory. Here, beneath the surface of water and time, is the oceanic heart of the cosmos, and Cancer is its appointed guardian. Not merely a sign of care or emotion, Cancer is a vessel through which the divine returns to the world in sacred cycles. The prophecy etched into their being is not one of fate alone. It is a sacred contract signed in ancestral fire and sealed in lunar silence. To be Cancer is to be chosen as a keeper of what cannot be destroyed, what cannot be silenced, what cannot be undone by the passage of mortal years. At the very root of Cancer's essence is a power misunderstood by the world, the ability to transmute pain into nourishment. When others are shattered by grief or weighed down by sorrow, Cancer becomes the alchemist. They do not merely survive their losses, they draw from them. They feed their purpose with their scars. They carve altars from their aching and create places of safety, wisdom, and legacy. Where others might bury their heartbreak, Cancer plants it and tends to it until it blossoms into healing. This process is sacred, slow, and mostly unseen, but it is nothing short of cosmic resurrection. And it is written in their bones long before they ever come to understand its meaning. Their connection to the moon, ever-changing and yet eternal, teaches them how to exist in multiplicity. Cancer does not conform to linear definitions. They are soft yet unshakable, nurturing yet fiercely protective, nostalgic yet visionary. They are not bound by the binary of weakness or strength. They are both at once, in harmony. The prophecy shapes them to hold this duality without apology. It demands that they contain the contradictions of life without breaking. And they do. Over and over, they gather the fragments of shattered worlds and become the glue, the silence, the sanctuary that holds it all. They are, in truth, emotional time travelers, not bound to the present moment. They move freely across generations through the invisible river of ancestral memory. In Cancer lives the mother who was silenced, the child who was never held, the love that was never spoken aloud. They feel these echoes not as abstract symbols but as living presences within their very soul. And the prophecy calls them to complete the unfinished stories of their lineage, to bring closure to what once was open-ended. They become storytellers of the soul, weavers of generational healing, and bearers of emotional legacies too heavy for others to hold. And yet, they carry them not with resentment, but with reverence. While the world may look to fire and thunder to define leadership, Cancer leads from the place few dare to enter, the heart. Their courage is not loud, but it is absolute. It takes divine strength to stay open in a world that rewards indifference. It takes vision to believe in love when betrayal is easier. And it takes unbreakable will to create emotional sanctuaries in spaces where war once lived. Cancer does not rule by force, but by devotion. They do not conquer, but they protect with a fury that burns deeper than any sword. Their leadership is intuitive, invisible, and undeniable. It changes the world not by storming the gates, but by reminding us why the gates matter at all. As the moon whispers its nightly secrets to Cancer, they are initiated into the mysteries of cycles not just external, but internal. They begin to see that life itself is a tide. Every joy recedes, but so too does every sorrow. The prophecy teaches them not to grasp, not to flee, but to ride the wave of each experience until it returns them to peace. This wisdom cannot be taught, only lived. And Cancer lives it again and again until they embody the truth that all things return. Nothing is ever truly lost. Everything finds its way home. Though Cancer often journeys through emotional underworlds alone, they do so not as victims, but as visionaries. They retrieve what others left behind: forgotten hopes, orphaned feelings, exiled truths. And when they return, they do not come back empty-handed. They bring with them light for those still trapped in shadow. They become guides not through words, but by presence. Others feel safer simply by being near them, though they may never fully understand why. This is the magic of the Cancerian path, the ability to alter reality through the sacred frequency of emotional attunement. There is also a deep cosmic irony embedded within Cancer's prophecy. While they are seen as the protectors of the past, they are also builders of the future. Their loyalty to memory is not a chain but a compass. It gives them the emotional blueprints for constructing what has never yet been seen. They know what wounds need never be repeated. They recognize what love is still missing in the world. And so they create futures rooted in ancient knowing, but directed toward healing that transcends the now. Their legacy is not merely personal, it is civilizational. They hold the keys to a softer world, not as fantasy, but as blueprint. Their emotional intelligence becomes something more than human over time. It evolves into spiritual wisdom. They begin to read not just people, but time itself. They sense the unseen, feel the subtle shifts of destiny, and position themselves with silent precision. This level of knowing cannot be taught or copied. It is earned through pain, shaped through patience, and polished by the pressure of the prophecy's weight. They become oracles not because they sought it, but because they endured what others could not. Even in solitude, Cancer is never truly alone. The spirits of those they've loved walk with them. The ancestors sing through their dreams. The moon itself pulses in their blood. This profound connectivity is their hidden armor, their eternal source of strength. While others burn out from isolation, Cancer draws energy from the invisible network of emotional and spiritual bonds that surround them like constellations. They are the sacred bridge between the living and the lost, the manifest and the remembered, the visible and the veiled. Ultimately, the prophecy is not a sentence, but a sacred crown. It cannot be removed because it is not placed upon them. It grows from within. It is a birthright and a burden, a trial and a triumph. There is no escape because there is nothing to escape from. There is only becoming. Cancer does not fall into their destiny. They rise into it, wave after wave, moon after moon, until they stand as they were always meant to. A lighthouse on the edge of the emotional sea, unshaken, luminous, and eternal. There exists within Cancer an ancient force that predates language, a memory etched into the soul before breath ever reached the body. It is not merely emotional intelligence or intuition. It is a living archive of cosmic empathy. The prophecy bestowed upon Cancer is not just a journey of self, but the consecration of a vessel that carries collective emotion, generational memory, and spiritual memory across time. Within them flows the water of all that has been felt and all that will be felt. They are both the tide and the shoreline. They do not merely reflect the moon, they embody its soul. One of the most unspoken aspects of Cancer's path is their deep psychic permeability. They are not just sensitive to energy, they are energy in motion. They do not just react to emotional shifts. They become the shift. They mirror the internal weather of others with such precision that they often lose track of their own atmosphere. This, too, is written in the prophecy, not as punishment, but as a sacred skill that must be tempered in the fire of self-remembering. Cancer must learn to distinguish between the pain that is theirs and the pain they have absorbed. This process, though grueling, forges in them the sacred gift of emotional sovereignty. They evolve into empathic warriors, capable of honoring the feelings of others without drowning in them. This strength is quiet but absolute, and it is won through spiritual labor unseen by any eye but the divine. The prophecy of Cancer is woven with paradox. They are called to nurture and to detach, to remember and to release, to hold and to let go. This is not conflict, it is alchemy. The sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon, but it is not bound by the night. In its fullness and its darkness, the moon teaches Cancer to master the ebb and flow of creation and dissolution. They are trained to be both the womb and the wave. Their life is one long dance with impermanence, and yet their love remains constant. Their roots grow deep not in soil, but in soul. They are not fragile. They are elemental. They are not passive. They are primordial. Their softness is not weakness. It is the memory of the divine feminine force that shaped the stars themselves. Beneath their emotional layers lies an indomitable will. The world may see Cancer as delicate, but the cosmos knows better. There is a steel beneath the water, an iron in the blood, a sacred fury that protects all that is loved. They are defenders of the innocent, protectors of the invisible, and guardians of the sacred spaces others overlook. Their instincts are oracular. They sense danger long before it arrives. And while they may not always speak, their silence is not ignorance. It is calculation. They watch, they feel, and when they move, it is with the force of a tidal wave that no one saw coming. This is the kind of strength that rewrites history, not with fire, but with water. They are also dreamers, not of fantasy, but of futures encoded with memory. Their visions are not escapist, they are prophetic. They do not dream to escape the world, they dream to rebuild it. Cancer carries the blueprints of what once was sacred: the village, the sanctuary, the circle. And within them burns the unquenchable desire to recreate it, brick by emotional brick. They dream in symbols, in sensations, in soul fragments waiting to be made whole again. Their homes are not structures, they are sacred ecosystems of belonging. Their families are not only of blood, they are constellations of kindred spirits who find shelter in their presence. The heart of Cancer is not just a place of emotion, it is a cosmic compass. Points always toward what is real, what is tender, what is eternal. When the world grows cold, Cancer becomes the hearth. When humanity forgets itself, Cancer remembers. And in that remembering, they restore not only their own soul, but the soul of others. They are the keepers of the first light, the carriers of the sacred pulse that connects all beings. They are reminders of what it means to belong to something greater than ambition, greater than achievement, greater than the self. The sacrifices required of Cancer are often invisible to those around them. The countless emotional resurrections, the daily choosing to feel despite the danger, the courage to keep offering warmth in a world that often returns coldness. But the prophecy does not forget. Every act of compassion, every moment of stillness, every time they choose empathy over indifference, it is recorded in the sacred ether. They are not just living a life, they are etching soul legacies into the fabric of time. In moments of solitude, when Cancer feels abandoned or forgotten, the stars themselves lean in. The moon wraps around them like a cloak. And deep in the silence, the prophecy speaks. You are not alone. You are the seed and the soil. You are the healer and the hurt. You are the memory of home written into the very bones of humanity. The tears you cry are not just your own. They are prayers. The love you give is not lost. It is returned tenfold in the sacred design of the unseen. And when Cancer rises, as they always do, they do not rise alone. They carry with them the healed child, the softened warrior, the reclaimed ancestor, the awakened world. They rise as tide and torch, as mother and moonlight, as refuge and revolution. The prophecy does not promise ease, it promises purpose. It does not shield them from pain, it grants them the strength to transform it. And in this sacred becoming, Cancer fulfills what they were always destined to be: the heart of the zodiac, the guardian of humanity's soul, and the eternal reminder that love, when chosen again and again, becomes the most indestructible force in existence. There is a layer of the Cancerian prophecy that exists not in the visible realm of behavior or emotion, but in the silent, ancestral bloodline that pulses through their veins. Cancer is not just a child of the moon. It is the cosmic archivist of memory itself, an eternal vessel through which the history of love, pain, and rebirth flows unbroken. This path is not one of loud declarations or external conquest. It is an interior odyssey through the sacred vaults of time, where echoes of forgotten mothers, buried truths, and unspoken dreams live on in quiet perseverance. The Cancer soul is a living reliquary of stories that never found their voice. They are the whisper in the bones, the lullaby in the storm, the keeper of what should never be lost. As they walk their journey, Cancer is continuously initiated into deeper layers of sensitivity. And though the world often confuses this gift for fragility, it is in truth a mark of sacred elevation. To feel so deeply, to carry the grief of generations, to hold space for emotions too vast for words. This is a divine responsibility. They are the spiritual artisans of emotion, shaping pain into purpose, heartache into heritage. Where others shut down, Cancer opens. Where others recoil, Cancer offers a hand. And though this often leads to betrayal or misunderstanding, the soul of Cancer remains loyal not to ease, but to essence. They are bound to the oath of authenticity, to the sacred contract of care that no wound can sever. Within the archetypal wound of Cancer lies one of their most powerful gifts: the ability to create sacred space not just in the physical, but in the energetic. Every room they enter shifts subtly. They anchor emotional safety with their mere presence. This is not learned, it is remembered. It is the ancient skill of the hearthkeeper, the protector of the tribe, the moon priest who holds space for all who wander, all who weep, all who wonder if love still has a home. Cancer does not offer solutions, they offer sanctuary. And in a world that moves too fast, this slowness becomes medicine. Their energy says, here you are seen. Here your heart is valid. Here your wounds have a place to rest. In this great prophecy, there is also a silent transformation that takes place far beneath the surface. Cancer becomes the sacred paradox. They must learn how to mother themselves. After years of nurturing, absorbing, healing, and holding, they must turn their soft gaze inward. They must cradle their own fears, tend to their own forgotten dreams, and protect the spark within from burnout. This is one of their greatest initiations, to realize they are not just a home for others, but a holy temple that deserves to be honored, replenished, and fiercely guarded. When this moment arrives, Cancer rises into a new archetype. Not just the caregiver, but the sovereign. Not just the tide, but the moon herself. Astrologically, the sign of Cancer is cardinal water, which means it initiates emotional seasons. It does not follow, it leads, though often invisibly. It begins cycles of feeling, love, memory, connection. This role is misunderstood because it does not conform to the heroic myths of fire or the strategic brilliance of air. It leads from the heart, often in silence, often unthanked, often unseen. But without Cancer, nothing begins with meaning. Without Cancer, revolutions lack soul. Without Cancer, the future forgets its roots. Their leadership is felt in the pulse of movements that seek belonging, in the resilience of those who survive with their hearts intact, in the quiet revolutions that begin around kitchen tables and tearful goodbyes. There is an emotional gravity to Cancer that pulls people inward. They become emotional mirrors, reflecting truths others are not ready to see. Sometimes they are blamed for this. Sometimes they are left for it. But they are not destroyed. Each abandonment forges in them a new strength, a new kind of clarity. They begin to see who they are beyond who they protect. They learn to discern between those who come to drink from their waters and those who come to swim beside them. This sacred clarity is a milestone in their path, one that shifts them from martyr to mystic, from emotional servant to sovereign spirit. Cancer's destiny is shaped by their ruling celestial body, the moon, which never ceases its dance of phases. This rhythmic fluctuation becomes the heartbeat of the Cancerian soul. They must learn to trust the ebb as much as the flow, to honor the stillness between tides, to see that even retreat is part of the sacred rhythm. This wisdom becomes their armor. In the world's demand for constant growth and noise, Cancer holds the lunar truth that all things need darkness to bloom, that rest is not weakness, that endings are the prelude to deeper beginnings. This lunar inheritance gives Cancer the power to move in cycles of sacred timing, untouched by the artificial pace of the world. When Cancer reaches the higher octave of their evolution, they become not only the guardian of personal emotional memory, but a living channel for collective healing. Their words, art, presence, and even their silence become conduits for ancestral restoration. They do not speak only for themselves, they speak for the silenced. Their tears are not just their own, they are baptisms for wounds unwept. Their homes become temples, their hearts become altars, and their lives, no matter how ordinary they may seem, become sacred scripts written in emotional ink that does not fade. This is why there is no escape, because this path is not a prison, it is a pilgrimage. The prophecy is not a weight, it is a womb. It contains them, teaches them, rebirths them endlessly into deeper versions of themselves. The Cancerian soul is called not just to feel, but to heal, not just to remember, but to restore, not just to shelter, but to shine. And so, even when they walk through sorrow, they carry light. Even when they are on their knees, they are thrones of grace. Even when they are lost, they are guiding stars for others. They do not flee their nature because they are nature, cyclical, fertile, ancient, infinite. They are the sacred curve of the crescent moon, the tidal pulse of the earth's womb, the eternal echo of the first heartbeat. And when they stand fully in this knowing, they are unstoppable, not because they conquer, but because they endure. Not because they command, but because they care. Not because they are immune to pain, but because they have made pain holy. Cancer fulfills their prophecy not in one grand moment of triumph, but in every quiet decision to love when it would be easier not to. They are the eternal home in a world of exiles, and in that role, sacred and relentless, they are immortal.